Hello, in this video we're going to talk about data types or data format in Excel. And when you enter data into Excel, it has to know what type of format or what type of information it actually is, whether it's a number, whether it's text, etc. Now, by default, Excel is just going to guess. It's going to put it in a general category and try to treat it the way it thinks it should be treated, but there are times that doesn't work out so well. Now, I have listed 5 very common data types up at the top. There are others, but I think for today, let's stick with the ones you're going to use most frequently, and then we can talk about the others as we encounter them. Some of them can be tricky. Okay, so general is just you type text, you'll notice it's formatted these in different ways. It actually took, when I typed September 4th, it changed it to 4-SEP. It right aligned my number over here. It left my name to the left. And it did these things because it guessed at what the format was. In many cases, it will just assign a format of general. In other cases, such as my date down here, it assigned it to something called custom, and this is the code for it. We're not going to worry about that right now. But it's basically guessing at what I put in here and to how it should look. Let's look at some numbers. So I'm going to put in here 23, 14.617, and 9,000.5. Okay, again, notice that the first number has no decimal places, the second has 3, the third has 1. Let me right click. Well, let me select the whole column. There's no need to set a format on an individual cell unless that's what you want, is something different. And generally you don't. Generally the information in columns is going to be of the same data type. So I'm going to right click and say Format Cells. Let's change these to numbers. And what options do I have? I have options to show a certain number of decimal places. So let's just say I am going to say 4 decimal places. And there is also a checkbox for Use Separator. So normally we group numbers in groups of 3, like 1,000 would be 1,000. You don't have to do that, but it makes the numbers easier to read. So it depends on your purpose, but I'm going to check it for now just to see what it does. And now it says negative numbers. How do we want to represent negative numbers? With a negative sign? Should I just make them red? Should I put them in parentheses, black, or should I put them in parentheses, red? And we don't have any negative numbers yet, but we can change a number to a negative number and see what happens. So let's pick this one. Okay, you can see that they now all have an equal number of decimal places. If I take my 9,000 and make it into a minus 9,000, the negative sign disappears and it changes to that format. Now if I adjust my format, and again I could do it for that cell, but I should do it for everything to keep it consistent. If I adjust it here to say use the negative sign, then that's exactly what it's going to do. Well, this seems like a lot of decimal places to me. Notice I have a 14.617. 617. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to say, I only really need 2 decimal places. Let me go the other way. And notice it rounded it to 0.62. Now that data is still stored. I still have 617 in there, but it's just displaying or showing it to me with that rounded value because I asked it to. I asked it to when I told it to show me 2 decimal places. That should do it for number. Let's look at currency. So 14, 16.56, and negative 3150. Yeah, let's say 5. Okay, I'm going to select that and go to Format. I will pick Currency. Again, it will let me set decimal places, so it'll allow me to enter 31.5 for 3150, and it will do the work of adding that extra 0 for me. So if I want to be a little bit lazy, I just set this to 2 decimal places, which is obviously the most appropriate for currency in most cases. If I was trading stocks or bonds, or if I was doing something where a fractional part of a cent was important, I could change that. And it also has a symbol here. So it's going to show a $sign, and I have these same options for negative numbers. And there you go. Now when I enter information, I do not enter the $sign. I'm just going to put a 6 in there, and it will be $6. So I do not enter that $sign. I'm only entering the numeric value. Notice it's going to give me a leading 0 by default, so that if I put in 89 cents, it's going to give me a 0 in front of there. And I'm not limited to dollars. You know, I could go through here and pick all sorts of different symbols for. There's a symbol for Chinese currency. Okay, and I just reversed that. Okay, that's all there really is to do with currency. Let's look at date. Now, when you're entering a date, I can put in 9/9/16 if I want. I can put in 5/4. And you'll notice that sometimes when I put in a date, it tries to convert it for me here. It tries to put it in a different format. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go to Format Cells now. We're going to go to Date, and there are lots of different date options. I can. This is very traditional. 4-digit year, 1 digit, and then the month and day, only as many digits as you need. Or in this format, it's going to be 2 digits, 2 digits, 2 digits. Okay. I can also have it actually pick out the day and tell me Wednesday, March 14th. That's, you know, could be nice, depending on if I was going to mail merge it and I wanted that information. Now notice, even though I only put in 5/4, and let me do that again, show you, 5/4, if I don't put in the year, it's going to assume this year. So if I want to put in a previous year, 5/4/12. And even though I only put in 12, because I chose that format, it did convert it to a 4-digit year for me. Last one is percentage. Let me put in 5. Now the tricky thing about percentage here is that I'm going to set it to 2 decimal places, although I could set it to more or less. 5 equals 500%, and mathematically that's true because 1 is 100%. So if I really wanted 5%, I would have had to type in 0.05. Okay, let's go back and set that entire column. %2, great. Now remember, I had typed in that 5 before I'd set the format of the column. So I typed in 5, I changed the format, and it came up to 500%. However, now that the column is already set, I can just type a 5 as 5%. Okay, so that's an important distinction. If the information is in there prior to you setting the format, it's going to be 100 times larger than what you expect it to be. But if you remember to set the format to percentage first, it will allow you to enter it. There's 16.67%. It'll allow you to enter it that way. Okay, that's a quick tour of formats. If you look here, there are many others. There's a counting format. Most of us won't use that. Time format is simply for the time component of a date, so that can be useful. You've got fractions, scientific for you science teachers up in high school. You can put it in scientific notation, and some other data types that we may visit later.